good? Now I want to come on here real quick and I just want to talk about the spiritual significance of addictions and how to break them. Now what we must realize about addictions is that addictions are all mental. Now as I say many times, you are the master manipulator and controller of this reality, okay? You have the power to bring anything forth into this reality. You are able to use your mind for positive things, but you are also able to use your mind for negative things. And many people use their minds to, manifest negativity. And that negativity can come with addiction. And a lot of the time, it's subconscious. A lot of the time with addiction, we don't physically try to become addicted to something, but it is a habitual, thinking pattern that leads us down a rabbit hole of addiction. What we must realize is that all addiction comes from emotional baggage. Okay, you may find that people are addicted to specific things as a coping mechanism for the fact that emotionally they're still holding on to a lot of baggage. People use certain substances to cope with the fact that they've been hurt emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So they use said substances to try to, bury the fact that they've been hurt. But little do they know, they're putting themselves in a much deeper hole of depression and addiction. In order to understand addiction, we must understand the mind. See, the mind is like a sponge, and it is electromagnetic. So whatever thoughts you put out, you will attract and manifest that into your reality. So a lot of the times, subconsciously, the thinking patterns that we have is what leads us down a path of addiction. Some people use sex as a coping mechanism, and there are some people who can become addicted to sex. First of all, you can become addicted to anything, but many people become addicted to sex as a result of the fact that maybe in their childhood they were sexually abused. Okay, so what people will do is they'll start to think about sex, they'll start to use sex, they'll start to do certain things as relating to the topic of sex to cope with the fact that they've been hurt. Your brain releases a chemical substance known as dopamine that, controls the reward centers in your brain. This gives you pleasure. You ever notice why you get out of a workout or you get out of, doing something that's pleasurable and you feel really good afterward? That's because you had a dopamine release. You had that dopamine hit. And a lot of the time, people will use that and try to get that same hit after multiple uses of the same thing, but it'll never be the same as that first hit. Some people, they are chemically addicted to porn, and through that, people will take that and watch multiple videos and fry their dopamine receptors to try to get that same hit in comparison to when they first watched porn. Anything can be an addiction. You can literally be addicted to anything. You can be addicted to video games. You can be addicted to meditation, okay? A lot of the time, we use these substances, we do these things, like I said, to cope with mental and emotional trauma. And it's not about using willpower to overcome these addictions. It's about finding out what is the root cause of the addiction that is causing us to use this as a coping mechanism. And as people, as very domesticated beings, we are very addictive creatures, okay? We're the type of people who, we get one thing, we want another thing. We get another thing, we want another thing. And the cycle just continues and continues and continues. Through this very addictive and greedy nature, we tend to always want more. So with that being said, we'll start to put ourselves deeper and deeper into a hole of no return. And this is why I heavily stress meditation and introspection, inner space, as opposed to outer space. Because a lot of the time, if we look within our inner space, if we look within our heart, if we look within our body and our mind, and we start to dig really deep into our subconscious, we'll start to really understand why we do the things that we do, why we act the way that we act, how we've been hurt, and what to do to heal from that trauma. You gotta realize that the addiction doesn't control you. You control the addiction. Again, you are the master manipulator and controller of your own reality. The word God is an acronym for generation, operation, and dispensation. Okay, you generate and operate and dispense your own reality through your mind. And you're able, with this godlike ability, to be able to, manifest and co-create a newer and higher reality for yourself. You don't have to be subjected to the thought patterns that have governed your reality for however long it's been governing your reality. Now, how we break addiction is through substitution, okay? Like I said, because of this very addictive nature, we tend to put ourselves deeper into a hole of no return. So what we must do is we must identify the problem and acknowledge the problem as it being a problem and put ourselves in the vibrational spectrum to realize that we need to change. We need to do better. We are not flawed fundamentally, but there are changes that can be made to your psyche in order to better yourself. I'll talk about porn again for a second, because I think every single teenage guy has dealt with some type of porn addiction in their life. How you substitute with porn, for me, what I did was through spiritual and esoteric knowledge, okay? There was a point in time where I was just doing my thing every single day, but when I really came in contact with spirituality and semen retention and understanding and realizing what was my why, it became easy. I thought I was addicted, and I probably was, until I found this new substitution for what was jacking off in my room. As we know, the highest frequency, the highest vibration, the highest emotion, the highest energy of motion is love. And a lot of the time, we are addicted to things because at the core of our essence, at the core of our being, humans fundamentally either want to reproduce, want to be wanted, or want love. And a lot of the time, it's because of this lack of those three things as to why we're addicted to, again, the substances that are literally hurting us in the long run and in the short term. And ultimately, addiction is just a mindset, okay? When you allow yourself to affirm within your reality that you are higher than your addiction, you are not under it, but you are above it. When you start to affirm in your reality that you got this, that you can do this, it is so easy. Over time, it's going to get easier for you to be able to break this addiction. One book that I recommend that you read is The Power of Self-Talk. I don't know if that was the actual name of it, but I listened to the audiobook of it on Audible a few months ago, and the book talked about affirmation and being addicted to certain things. If I'm not mistaken, the author of the book talked about smoking cigarettes, and a lot of people, because of nicotine being an addictive chemical, many people are addicted to cigarettes. So what the author recommended doing was saying an affirmation about not wanting to smoke but still smoking a cigarette. Over time, you'll start to find that because of neuroplasticity, that your brain will start to mold itself into the reality of it not needing to smoke in order to coexist or co-create within a high vibrational manner. It all starts with your mindset. Think of it like this. You ever notice why one day the grass could be green, but on another day the grass could be gray? It's all about how you perceive the reality. Yes, everything is objective, okay? You may be actually addicted to something, but remember, your situation is current, not final, okay? So with that being said, it's easy over time. Time is the ultimate healer of everything, okay? And if you allow the divine in time to do its thing and to work on you and to heal your heart and just to know that you are within the hands of the divine, of the infinite intelligence of God, if you will, then you can never truly lose. And you can get over any hill that's thrown at you. One of the most important and impactful things that I've heard from a video one time, I think it was a Vontu Cut video, was make life your bitch. Don't let life control you. And healing isn't easy. I understand. To be so, hurt by something for so long, and then to finally be faced with the thing that's been hurting you, and in the midst of it still hurting, I understand. It's difficult. But only you can change that chapter of your life. Only you can close that chapter of your life. That's why it's called closure for a reason. You don't just get closure out of relationships. You get closure out of yourself. But what you must realize is that you dictate this reality. This reality doesn't dictate you. And before I cue the intro, I want to preface all of this by saying that I'm not trying to be insensitive by any sense of the word. I understand that addiction can be very hard for many people, but I'm saying all this to say that I believe in your ability to be triumphant in every single situation that you're being faced with. But with that being said, I love myself through you. We're going to rock out, have a beautiful, blessed, productive, and successful day. And remember, the goal of life is not just to be infinitely great, it's to be greater than infinity. Peace.